Hey, welcome to the latest edition, maybe the last edition of the season, we'll see, of First State Kopites. It's episode 39 of season 3. It's a podcast of Liverpool supporters in Delaware and friends of those Liverpool supporters. Thanks for listening on your preferred platform. We're available on all of them. So I'm Paul, and this week I'm joined by Sean and Daz, and we're going to talk about the Champions League final. Not in a way I think we might have anticipated talking about the Champions League final. We clearly well, if I just reflect on the game itself, I think we thought we should have won. Probably thought we would have won before the game happened. But there's so much stuff I think we want to talk about that happened before and around the game, and it's probably still going on. And I think I think it's important to state our goal here is to help the people in our community, our Liverpool, Delaware, Liverpool, USA supporter club community, to come to terms with what might have happened and find a positive way forward. Because I think there's a lot of positives about this team and this season, which should not be damaged by what happened in Paris, or in the suburb of Saint Denis, to be specific. I don't know how I'm going to start this, but I'll just open it up. Champions League final, 1985, was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was a game that didn't matter in the end because of what had happened before. And I could not help but reflect on how the final of 2022 mirrored it. Fortunately, did not mirror it quite as it could, but there were still parallels, and the game seemed less important because of what happened outside. I'll start with you, Daz. Whatever you want to go after. UEFA, the French government, the stupid tribalism that claims that somehow it's all about Liverpool fans. Where do you want to go?
Well, so I had to watch it on my phone because my son was playing in a game that was meaningful to him, so it was meaningful to me. I remember we left early so that I could watch the first half, and then I saw the reports like, oh, it's been pushed back because there was too many fans trying to get, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right at all. And then the immediate response from a number of outlets was to revert to type and saying, oh, well, this has kind of happened before, hasn't it, with the same group of people? And I was like, no, like this is a playbook. This has happened before, and they're trying to trot it out again. I know for a fact that this is not happening. How many away games has Liverpool been to since then, and to this, and even in this season, and have been exemplary in their behavior? And I was wrong from the start, and I just felt it in my bones that something is not right here. And the reports that you're reading from it's harrowing. And I think today I know I'm jumping all over the place because my head's been kettled by this, because for this exact reason, like you tapped into like the worst possible thing that you could have possibly tapped into for Liverpool fans of almost, well, of a certain age, but almost any age at this point, than anyone that has any clue about being a Liverpool fan. And I'm like, you were. I was incensed. I was beyond rage, because I was looking at what was going on, and the way that people's like, oh, it's Liverpool fans get in it. I'm like, you haven't read the Taylor report. They've spent the last 32 years fighting this.
Yeah, 33. Yeah.
33 years fighting this for this exact reason, and people are picking up the same trope, the same line, and they're running with it. And like you're talking about the tribalism, like the point winning, and numerous people have come out and said, it's like, this could be you next time. This isn't about Liverpool supporters per se. The Real Madrid fans had to go through it too, and the reports are coming out around that. So you can't say it's just us. The Real fans had exactly the same experience, more so on the way out, but kind of on the way in too, being penned in, being herded like cattle.
Yeah.
And how the number of people that are having like PTSD that weren't at Hillsborough that were stuck in this. I was looking at Phil Blundell, and he's like, there's portions of this that are missing for me. And Maury Lewis is saying, it's like, this is what happens with trauma. It's like you kind of block out certain points and amplify other points. And like over time, these things will start to piece themselves back together. He's like, I can't remember certain portions of the day, period. Like they've been black from my memory. And for the French government to come out and try and trot out that line where there's so much. This isn't 32, 33 years ago. Everybody has cell phones. We're talking about Ian Byrne was in there, and he was part of that. We're talking about businessmen. These aren't just the yobs that everyone thinks that were at Hillsborough that showed up late and drunk. Like these are like members, pillars of the community that were in the same situation, experiencing that, are coming out now with footage, with firsthand accounts. You can't hide this. And what is UEFA going to do? Like they've been almost absent to this point, as far as I can tell. Like, what are they waiting to see what the fallout of this is, and then they're going to act? It feels craven. It feels cowardly.
So I was really encouraged by everything that Dan Austin has done over this period. And if you haven't, like look for his articles or look for the things he's talked about. So Dan is a very clear speaking man who from Liverpool, who apparently speaks French very well. So therefore was very clued in to what was happening. But so Sean, I'll go to you. My very good friend Paul was at Heysel. He was at Hillsborough also, and he texted me. He was in the ground on Saturday. He texted me quite a few times about how it felt like both of those things. The Heysel similarity was like the game was delayed and no one knew what was going on. It didn't feel good. Felt like bad things had happened. And obviously at Heysel, worse things happened than fortunately happened at Stade de France. But the Hillsborough thing was the allowing the crowds to build up and all the pressure, and then to want to snipe at like somebody climbed over the fence after all of this. So I'm sure there's also, you could say, we talked last night about the way this has been reported. What is the most important thing from your perspective that you'd want to correct from the narrative we've heard from some of the people who are talking about this?
Most important thing to correct. Well, I think it depends on who you're reading. Like the narrative's been extremely consistent from the people that were there.
Yeah, so I guess what this afternoon, what I heard was the Minister of the Interior and the Minister of Sport did a whole like a conversation with the French Senate, and they were still spouting the 30 to 40,000 fake tickets.
It's all all that stuff is bullshit. I'm sorry, it's like I don't know where they're getting that's like a lot of this crap from, but they're just making things up. I mean,
did they pass math? Is my question. I mean, did they?
No, yeah. I mean, I think I saw one report that, I can't remember where I saw it. I've been looking at so much stuff over the last few days from the fallout, but they said that there were 2,000 and some fake ticket swipes, but like that could also mean they swiped the ticket because apparently their ticket reading machines weren't working correctly. So they could have swiped the ticket 8 times for a legit ticket.
Andy Heaton said that, actually. He came out and said they swiped his 4 times before it went through. And he's like, does that count towards their fake ticket count?
That would make 900 fake tickets, right? If it was, you have to, anyway, but.
Yeah. There are eyewitness accounts of like, all this stuff, people coming up, horribly organized. They get, thousands of people funneled into this tiny area. Meanwhile, they're all watching local youths in the crowd trying to pickpocket people and jump the fence, and the cops are doing nothing about that. And I think that, I don't know, the most horrific thing about it to me is watching like videos and pictures of little kids and handicapped people and elderly people getting tear gassed and pepper sprayed through a fence. There, you see videos of some of the crush going on. It's horrible. Like I've seen videos of people pulling their kids out of the crowd, crying, saying, "Get them out of here!" Like, I mean, it's just, it's horrific. And, I don't know what the French government or UEFA are going to do, but I hope that, I don't even want to say I hope that the UK government backs up the club, but I guess, it would be good and helpful. It's what they should do. and I hope the club pursue it as far as they can possibly take it. And support all the people that were there as much as possible. And it's just, I mean, the thing, so like, I went to the pub, Rooney's, watched the match. It was, I was obviously disappointed that we lost, but even at that time, I was aware enough of all the nonsense going on outside the ground that honestly, I had already blocked a couple of my friends that were like joking around about it, making fun of Liverpool fans for having gone through it. I still haven't unblocked them. I can't even, I just can't deal with it. I mean, the fan tribalism, it's like the whole thing was just horrific. And so then, I woke up Sunday thinking like, just feeling horrible about the whole thing. And it's just like the game really didn't matter. Like, I wonder what the reaction would have been if we had won. Like, it still would have been horrific for all those people that went through that. I mean, I don't think it would have made up for it. It definitely wouldn't have. I mean, all these people had to go through this traumatic experience for what? Like, it made absolutely no sense. They wanted to treat everybody like they were some drunken hooligan.
And it wasn't just on the way in, it was on the way out too.
Well, right, and then on the way out, they had local youths that were like, a couple of people I think got severely injured, hospitalized, cut in the face. I saw another guy, his leg was all broken from being jumped by youths, and the cops weren't doing anything to protect fans from that. They're supposed to be there to protect fans. And I had also heard weird stories about, I think I saw this, like when some of the fans were leaving the stadium, the police basically blocked their exit. And I don't know what they were trying to do, but they had the exit blocked off and they had all these armed guards surrounding them. And it was, people started screaming at them, and eventually they opened up a small passageway for people to get out.
Yeah.
But it was just like, what are they doing? Like it was like the police were intentionally terrorizing our fans is basically what happened.
Well, I think there's something in here where, like, having decided this was a bunch of hooligans, and then they didn't behave like hooligans, that we need to like provoke them. And I think that was the 80th minute show at the end of the stadium where the riot police showed up, and whatever they did outside, it so reminds me of Heysel, where the police were absent for most of the game, and then once people left the stadium, they had like kind of dogs, and they had the full riot gear, and it's like, where was this like 3 hours ago? Because this would have been really helpful.
Yeah. But UEFA and the French authorities like immediately putting out this word that it was so first it was Liverpool fans showing up too late. And then they said, then they went eventually to, I think there was something in the middle too, but then they eventually went to, no, it was fake tickets. Oh, I know it was in the middle. Liverpool fans were trying to jump the fence into the match. Well, like,
I'm surprised they've not gone heavy on drunk fans, because that's the Hillsborough playbook, right? It's like arrived late, no tickets, and they were drunk.
And then what I haven't seen video of, but I've read a lot about, is the fact that they attacked the fan zone for no reason. Like they weren't doing anything.
Afterwards,
they were just in the fan zone, like, miles away from the stadium, and the police attacked there too. It was like they expected Liverpool supporters to be rioting, and so they put together a plan to address them rioting, and then it didn't matter that it didn't happen. They just followed through with the plan. So it's crazy.
This is definitely worth reading Dan Austin on, because he kind of looks at this French politics going on here. There's like them inviting the hooligan management squad, which has been shit all year, because apparently there's been riots at every French stadium. That's part of what they're responding to. And then the overload of Les Anglais, of which we would hope not to be considered to be part of. And the fact that we've been in 4 finals in 6 years, and this was the worst by far debacle that happened in those 6 years, probably says that we're not like those people, but they were thinking of us like that we were the people who invaded Euro 2020 finals.
So they've obviously never heard the expression "with Scouse not
English." Yeah, that was not in play in any of this stuff. Yeah.
Well, so one of the people I saw referenced that they were either referencing Heysel or Hillsborough, in the news conference, like, oh, we were aware of Liverpool supporters who have caused deaths in the past. And I'm like, first of all, you're talking about something that was over 30 years ago. We don't even know which event you're talking about, and it's just crazy. Like,
which was debunked too in the Taylor report.
Well, in Hillsborough it was, and Paul was at Heysel. There's mixed reports about what happened there.
Well,
the wall collapsed, basically.
So I mean, no more. So a lot of what I read today about the whataboutery stuff was, well, you're not completely innocent, and there's like okay, but like there was a bigger participant in how this happened. And my thing about Heysel is the stadium was a shithole, and there were things that would not have happened in a decent stadium. And ironically, one of the things I always said to people at Heysel was, well, in Paris in 1981, they had a ring around the stadium, so you couldn't even get near the stadium like to cause any problems. Everything was really well organized, even if the CRS, the French Riot Police, were like slightly hostile towards any fans. But apparently they gave up on the ring around the stadium this time.
Well, that's the other part that's so weird about it. Like, they're making excuses saying, oh, we only had 3 months to prepare. Like, I'm sorry, like, why do you need what you should already have plans in place about how to handle crowds at the stadium.
Sean, it takes a long time to prepare that menu for the the UEFA officials and the special dinner that they have before the game.
Well, and then the other thing that I was not aware of, but I'm just I'm not familiar with France, but I guess this particular area is like well known to be an extremely high crime area. It's basically, unfortunately, where a lot of the poor migrants, a lot of them, coming from Africa, are sort of, funneled to this area, and so you have a massive amount of concentrated poverty. So there's a lot of crime. So they know all that. So why didn't they do something? They could have focused more on that rather than Liverpool being hooligans.
They could, but with a hooligan enforcement force, whatever we are, and that's what we do. So love the conversation, and I think one of the really important things is to keep this going until like the whole opinion about it being anything to do with football fans get discredited, because clearly there are other things going on in France at this point.
I will say this: I think that the response from the Liverpool Football Club, the upper echelon, has been very much on point. Mm-hmm. It's been pointed and on point, and I think that Tom Werner was demanding an apology for the response. That was before they had the Senate hearing.
Yeah, it was a couple of days ago, at least.
And Billy Hogan, I didn't get a chance to listen to it. I know that Billy Hogan just had something, he updated something as well. But I know that our club has made some missteps in the past, but I think that they're very, very much on like right on point and right where they need to be with their messaging around this. And honestly, they've chosen the wrong club to fuck with. We've been to how many finals? We've won 6 of them. Like, we are European royalty.
What you're reminding me of is Neil Atkinson. I think he was on the bus home from the game, and he's like, I think you might have picked the wrong people to pick on here, because we might have a playbook about how to deal with you after what happened to Hillsborough.
Yeah,
nonsense about they arrived late, they were drunk, they had no tickets, and then apparently none of those things were true.
I don't understand. It's like, do you know anything about this club, UEFA? Do you know anything about this club at this point?
Les Anglais. Oh, except they're not, right?
The other thing I wanted to say is that, I mean, the other part that was made it, I don't know, even sadder a little bit for me, is that like the fan zone before the match looked incredible. I mean, people were having the time of their life, and even the day before, the night before, it was like just this incredible joyous atmosphere. I didn't see anything where Liverpool fans were misbehaving or damaging things. There were a couple of videos of them being at cafes and they were spilling into the road, but it looked like all the locals were kind of laughing about it. I mean, there wasn't any bad atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere.
Let me finish off this section, because I did want to talk a little bit about the game with the
which game
party.
It was a game.
Yeah, we could talk about the game, but the guy who helped organize the fan park apologized to Liverpool fans, and he said, "My view is, if you're Dr. Jekyll during the day, it's really hard to become Mr. Hyde at the nighttime." So what he was observing was such a carnival atmosphere. People went to the stadium. They were not people set up to organize violence and fights, except the French riot police obviously decided to police it that way.
But the problem is, anytime you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, to the game.
Let's talk briefly about the game. Fucking hell, Real Madrid were lucky, weren't they? Jesus Christ. We should have won that, shouldn't we? Daz?
Yeah, a goalkeeper won the man of the match.
Mm-hmm.
I think Simon Brundish put something out to the effect of anytime that he's faced that type of expected goals, he's let 2 or 3 in.
Yeah.
It was the second highest expected goals that he's ever faced, and he didn't let a single one in.
It was actually it was the post shot XG, which is not even expected goals. It's the fact that if you want to say, oh, we had good chances and we didn't finish, that's based on where we put the ball. So we did finish. He just saved them. You know?
So look, with enough hindsight after it's been long enough for me to think about this, and I said this to someone else, this just kind of had the feel of team of destiny shit for them. The fact that how they came back and beat PSG, how they came back and how they beat Chelsea, how they beat the whole way in. It was just when they scored in the 60th minute, I was like, I guarantee we could be right now. We could be there now playing right now, and we still wouldn't have scored. I just had that feeling for me, and we did enough. I know, Sean, that you said we didn't push the tempo, and there were portions where where Real just stopped. They went and kind of to zone defense, and they just prevented us from playing, and that is true. But we absolutely did enough to win that game. And I know I said 3-1, and I still feel in my heart of hearts, if that Mane goal had gone in, that save that he made off the post, it hit him in the back, and I've seen those come off a goalkeeper's hand, off a post, off his back.
Most often come off the back, right?
Yeah, they usually go back in.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't say that because I was watching on a screen with my son's teammates' family sitting there. So,
well, Sean and I were.
I wanted to say a giant
enough fuck offs for you together. I think.
Thank you, boys. I love the solidarity.
I love that going off in the pub. I think actually, I think I messaged this. This may not be true, but I don't think I've watched a game with Sean that we've ever lost. Again, might not be true, but I don't feel like we've ever lost a game that we watched.
It was the same as Konate. Konate hadn't lost a game that he played in, right?
And he didn't deserve to, and we didn't deserve to lose this one.
He played great.
Deserve, and they got nothing to do with it, unfortunately. It's such a fucking cruel game.
Yeah.
I said this. Yeah. I had Real Madrid fans come to me afterwards Liverpool deserved to win that game. But we fucking didn't. You should have lost, you bastards. I didn't say that. I was gracious. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Actually, the thing I struggle with, and I'll go to you next, Sean, is that they're like, oh, well, they deserve. So Neil Atkinson said this. They deserved to win this after what they went through. And it's like, what? It's honestly, if this had been our 53rd game, not our 63rd game, I think we'd have killed you. I think, honestly, we'd have overwhelmed you.
But we did.
We did, but we didn't score. We would have been our 53rd game, though.
But they gambled heavily. They rolled the dice, and it worked out for them.
Yeah.
The odds were massively against them from the beginning, through the game, at the end of the game. And Thibaut Courtois told us before, he's like, I'm tough to score against. We're like, mate, I've seen you be scored against. I've seen people score against you all season long. And he's like, and he backed himself.
This was his game. This was the one game, right?
It was. Sean?
Ancelotti, by the way, said that Liverpool were decipherable, which gave us an advantage against them over Chelsea, Man City, and PSG.
Oh, some of the comments after the game. That's why I can't stand Real Madrid. I mean, before we even lost to them I've just never been able to stand them because they live on this. Their legacy is built on this fraud
Sand.
that
Built on
Francisco
fucking
Franco
sand.
built for them back in the 60s by fixing matches and everything.
They have
But-
14. They have 14.
No, I know, but
Yeah,
trophies.
but you know,
but-
they had 6 of the first 7 when nobody was playing in this tournament. So just
well, right,
let's
and
put
well,
that in perspective.
and Franco ensured that they were they were in it every year because they always won the league, and so you know,
It's-
I mean,
I'm enjoying
my
this
take on the match
so far.
is like, I mean, with hindsight, we definitely did enough to win the match. We should have won the match. I've seen stuff. I mean, I hate to like their goal. They make it look like Benzema may have touched the ball. It wasn't a cross from Valverde. It was a shot. He mishit the shot. It looks like it bounced off Benzema's foot. Benzema was offside. We're not always going to get that call, whatever. You know, every trick and won the match for the. It was one
What's
of
one metric?
yeah. I mean, and it all comes down to the fact that Claude just had an insane team. Like we had 4 shots to their 4. We had most of the possession. We had much higher XG. You know, he just, you know, Courtois made 3 or 4 incredible saves that would have been goals against most goalies, and Allison didn't really even have to do that much. I mean, they weren't really threatening us for the vast majority of the match. So, you know, the other factor that is we can't ever know how much all this crap going on outside the stadium might have impacted the match.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we know it definitely impacted the crowd, because I've heard people say who were there that by the time Real Madrid scored, our crowd was just out of it, because everybody knew what had happened outside the stadium, and they just weren't getting into it like they would have otherwise.
Yeah.
And then Courtois makes that save against Salah at the end, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's an incredible save, but at the same time, the ball could have gone
Anywhere.
in any direction off his arm, and
Yeah.
it just happened to go in the perfect spot for us to not get a rebound, for it to not go in the goal. It was just, that's the way everything was going.
Cruel game. It's a cruel game.
It's fine. It's fine margins, and so that part sucks, but it's all the other stuff that happens around the game. Just it makes me wonder how enjoyable it even would have been if we had won. I'm sure we would have enjoyed it, but everybody still would have had this horrific experience. So
it turns out we've lost every final we played where the kick was delayed, which is an interesting stat.
Huh.
Okay.
One other thing I want to mention real quick, Paul. There was an analysis I saw online of they took the likelihood of us not scoring any goals in all 3 of the finals we played this year, and it was something like 0.02% or something like that.
Yeah.
And the most likely result from RxG in those matches would have been scoring 6 goals across the 3 matches, and we scored none. So it's just, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, you could criticize our finishing, I guess, but I don't know. The numbers would say that it wasn't our finishing. It was just bad luck, basically, that we weren't scoring. So
I saw some articles which I never read about, like, oh, well, he didn't score a goal in 3 finals, but it felt like that was an anomaly. But it could also have been, we played a lot of games. I'm kind of wondering whether, I said this before, if this had been game 53 versus game 63, whether we'd had more energy and like won it more easily.
Well, you also have to understand, like, Fabinho was rushed back. Well, not rushed back, but he'd been gone for 2 games. Thiago, I remember you texting us, Sean, saying, it's like, am I seeing that Thiago's off and Nabi's coming in? And that was it from a couple of different sites that said that if the kickoff had not been delayed, that Nabi might have started.
Yeah.
So it's Like they've been they were on the beach for 3 weeks before that. They tied Real Betis the game before, and they put out their big guns for that. So again, it's like I think that Justin said that they just have bad juju, and that's really kind of what it felt like. That there was a bunch of different bad energetic waves that were all just cresting together at the same point. Look, they won, and
yeah.
Ordinarily, I don't need to be magnanimous. I wasn't involved in the game, but like you can say, as like the better team won. I don't, in my heart of hearts, the better team did not win. And like to your point, Sean, like all of the meaningful metrics outside of the major one pointed to the fact that we dominated that game. But as a Liverpool fan, Paul, like how many times have you seen that where it's just it hit a fucking beach ball and goes in? Like it's
I remember that one. No.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that felt.
Yeah.
I do think that Australia says that unless the final is like perfect, Champions League final, European Cup final, then we can be put off our whatever it is, whether it's Heysel, whether it's Athens, which also had its own issues about fan entry, and or whether it's like the shenanigans in 2018 in Kyiv. It feels like we can be put off our stride. So next time when we're in Istanbul, we need to make sure it's all pristine because Jürgen said we're going to be there. There's probably a lot more we could say about the game. I think overall, Madrid only win in an alternative universe, which is obviously what happened. And we were like 3 kicks away from being like achieving the thing that no other English team could ever do again. The quadruple, which takes me on to the parade. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know you need to go in a couple of minutes, Daz. I don't know what your perspective was, but I woke up on Sunday morning like feeling a bit sad, knowing the parade was about to happen, thinking, how's it going to work out? I don't know. And I watched the first few minutes and was like, there's nothing people around the first spots on the anyway. Turns out there were 500,000 people, and they were very ecstatic for good reason about this amazing football team. Could have won 4 trophies, won 2, and in the pandemic won the Premier League as well, and we never got to celebrate it. I think they deserve so much credit. I don't know where you want to go with this, but we've got a few people leaving. Got a few people who got uplifted by the whole thing. I don't know how much you saw of the parade, but for me it was like a therapeutic moment.
It was cathartic, and I think that obviously I wasn't there, but the number of people that said like, how are we going to respond to what happened yesterday, and they went and they said it was a massively uplifting moment for them. And even from my perspective, if you go back and look on these here airwaves, what we said afterwards, like we might not win anything but these 2 trophies that we have in the bag right now. And this is still probably the best Liverpool football team of our lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I've watched some magnificent Liverpool teams throughout my 48 years. Like I was around during the 80s when we were that fucking good. And we might have won more trophies, but like in terms of what we did and how good we were this season, it makes us this probably, and we only won 2 trophies. I say only one, whereas you have teams that haven't won a trophy in 35 years. Looks across park.
Or even 6 or 7. 35 miles up the road to the East Lancs Road.
East Lancs, yeah. So I was the same as you. I woke up, I was like, I was a bit bummed. But I'm like, look what they gave us this year. After everything that happened last year and the year before that, like this is just, it's something to marvel at. Like, it's not something to be sad about that we lost. It's something to be happy about that we had. And that's kind of how I woke up. Because if this had been 3 years ago, it would have taken me weeks to recover. And I don't know what that says to my character, but it would have put me in the dumps. And I was like, you know what? This is a magnificent team. And even more so, is like, it's going to be a magnificent team, regardless of who leaves and regardless of who comes in. Like, this team is going to be a good team for quite some time.
Mhm.
Even when we were when we were getting decimated by injuries, we were still a good team. We faltered a little bit, but we were still a great team. And this is the team that people are going to fear for the next, I'd say probably next 4 to 5 years. Hopefully beyond, but in terms of what we have on the books now and the way we're doing our business, we are. And look, I might have looked like a bit of an a-hole saying 3-1 against Real Madrid, but
that was more deserved.
I don't think so. I mean, if you're going based on the numbers, that's the way it should have ended up.
Yeah.
But I stand by it. Like, we were an amazing team, and the fact that many people showed up tells you more about what this team means to that many people, that you can ride that we lost. This is the second time that these a-holes have beaten us in the final. We could have 8 if it wasn't for them.
Yep.
And no one cared. They showed up. It was festive. Calvin Harris was up there. Like, the players weren't in the dumps. Like, how can if they were up there like, yay, waving little plastic flags around, like, well, we were almost, I guess we're close. But they enjoyed every single second of that. That was for 2 years ago, and they couldn't be on the bus.
Mhm.
That was for everything that they've missed. And it meant the world to the, like, can you imagine being down the East Lancs Road? Like, yeah, we won the league, and 40 people showed up.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there may have been 45. I don't know, but
I'm sorry, I'm bad at math. But point being,
there weren't many. It was a short bus journey, right? Yeah, really.
drove around
Did they even take a bus journey? They just sat in the bus, didn't they?
They drove it like to the end of the driveway and back.
Yeah, hundreds was what the BBC said came to the
We had hundreds of thousands of people that swallowed that massive disappointment again, but not because they realized what this team has done over the course of. It must have been just a massive, like, cathartic release for people to be able to go and celebrate this team, this manager, like, how good we actually, like, what they. Okay, so you can look at performances, you can look at, like, trophies, but what it means to this community, like what they have given to people. It's meaningful. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Best fans in the world, he said. I love you all. Sean.
He said he might have had a few drinks as well, but I'm sure.
Hey, what's wrong with that? Come on. That's our show motif, isn't it?
Yeah, I was wrong about the parade. I was thinking, like, oh God, how are we gonna have a parade now after that happened?
So, Sean, to be fair, the players actually on the interview said, wasn't sure how this is going to go.
Well, that's kind of what I thought. I was sitting there thinking, like, how do the players want to get up and go to this? And particularly after all the perfect stuff that happened outside the stadium, how do you get up? But I was, I was wrong. It was clearly, there were, whatever. I think I saw somebody say there were 500,000 people or something like that.
Scouts is here, Scouts is there, Scouts is every fucking where. Yeah.
And the players obviously, like, it I'm sure it was great for the players to experience that, even if they weren't sure about it right away.
Yeah.
They seem to be loving it. And so I mean, it's I don't know, as a fan, it's a bit disappointing just because we were so close to the league and the Champions League, but the team absolutely deserves to be celebrated for everything that they've done. Like you said, that it's just fine margins. But it shouldn't take away from everything that they've given everybody, and kind of enjoying the ride, and just having something to look forward to every couple days, just excited to watch great players and a great team play, and lots of positive, just people and personalities in the team, and Klopp, and it's great. I think you said before, Daz, I know you have too, Paul, like the last couple of years during the pandemic and all that, it's been such a blessing to have this team to look forward to watch, with the exception of like a month or two last season, which ended up being really depressing because it was an eye opener. Like, oh wow, this is what it's like when Liverpool don't dominate every week. But it really has just been great for the fans, and uplifting for everybody. So yeah, no, I mean it was great moment. In terms of people leaving, I mean I'm it's upsetting in some cases, particularly with Mane. We don't know what's going to happen with Salah, but I mean our guys, like Justin says, our nerds have proven themselves over and over again. Like
I believe he said needs.
Like we're gonna go find, like if one of those guys leaves, we're gonna go find the next Diaz or Jota or
Darwin Núñez.
Right. Yeah, or when we got Salah, like Salah wasn't even our top choice when we were going for him.
Remember who was?
I think it was Julian Brandt, wasn't it?
Brandt, yeah.
Yeah. And with Jota, it was Timo Werner. And I still think that if we had gotten Brandt or Werner, they would have been a big success with Klopp.
But maybe not quite.
But maybe not. You never know. Maybe not. I mean, we might have just lucked out. Yeah. But I have all the confidence in the world that we'll go identify the next top talent and be just as good. The core, for the most part, I mean, Mane and Salah are a huge part of the core of the team, but our entire defense and Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, like they're all still going to be there. And we have tons of young talent with Curtis and Harvey, and Trent's still only 22 or 23 or whatever.
We're 24 next season. Yeah.
There's a lot more to come from this team. So
I had some fabulous points to make, but Sean talked too long and I've forgotten them all. So I'm going to go with. I think you need to leave, Daz. Right?
For you guys, I will push it a little bit further for the fans.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I'm completely messed up now because I was about to close the thing out.
Also, to Sean's point, though, people like players, our favorite players will always kind of, well, they have to. Like, nothing is immutable, right? Everything has to change. The only constant in the universe is change. I think it's we as fans kind of attach more sentiment to particular players over others, and you see, that's what makes social media such a dangerous place sometimes, is because people want to take swipes at Salah versus Mane, or Torres versus Rush, or like all of our great players have left eventually. And I don't know, I guess I'm at 48 now. I know I look way younger on camera, but at 48 now, I think I've gotten to the point now where I'm okay with it. Like you kind of have to allow the ebb and flow. What do they say? If you stand by the riverbank for long enough, you get to see all of your enemies flow past you. I know I'm paraphrasing, but
I've never heard that
how
before.
It feels like everything's gonna float past you eventually. Like you just allow it. So like people like to attach acrimony to Sterling, to Torres, to Suarez, the way to Coutinho, the way that they left, and sometimes I get involved in it too. And people make bad choices, and we've made bad choices in replacing those bad choices. We've thrown good money after bad, but I think that in the long run, to kind of circle this up, or to finish the circle, is like I truly believe, based on what we've done in the last 6 to 7 years, that as hard as it's going to be to lose, I love Sadio Mane. There's nothing about that guy that tells you that you shouldn't love him. Like what he does for his community, the way that he deals with Liverpudlians, like all of that should say is like you should celebrate him, and you should like feel sad that he's going to leave us. He's had a tremendous like after the AFCON, he's been instrumental in how far we've come, but you don't slaughter him because he's doing it in the last year of his contract, or he's trying to, and he's going to whine. Like, don't, just appreciate him for who he is, and understand like unfortunately this is part of the business. But celebrate who he is. Same if Sadio decides like he's going to go and play for Manchester City, it's going to hurt, but appreciate it's part of what this is, how the business works. Just appreciate what they've given to you in the time that they were there, in the fact that someone's going to welly him 40 feet into the air when he plays against us.
Man City might be a hard one, but
Yeah.
Final thought, Sean?
I don't know. I'm still kind of
Sounds like a no.
processing like everything. You know, it's you know,
The
I
Davis High
guess.
School football rules.
Yeah, right. Yeah, with Doyle rules. You know, I guess I'm kind of past everything. I want us to keep prosecuting what happened to the fans, but
For sure.
I'm over the final.
Yeah,
and kind of interested, looking forward to see what happens this summer.
So we apparently we're going to be back with the Community Shield in 7 weeks. Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
Which they're playing at Leicester's. Like, why are they playing at the King Power Stadium? It makes no sense.
We may have one more podcast to do before the season's done.
Yeah.
But for this one, let's go with we'll be back next week to do a season review. Thank you so much, Daz. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much, Hytham, Enrique, and Justin for this year. If you enjoyed our podcast, please tell a friend and retweet us if you can, because we retweet only things that we believe in.